Mm-hmm.
Intriguing. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an anime story podcast episode. Oh my God, what episode is it today? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an anime story podcast. Gotta mute that. We're on episode 4, something like that.
4.
Hey, welcome.
4.
My name is Jake. I'm one of your hosts. Over here on the right is Mandy, and just below me. Oh. Oh dear. The fourth wall's been broken. Literally. And just below me is Noah.
I'll fix it.
We're your hosts. Yeah, so today we're going to be discussing the animated film, I guess we'll call it that, a silent voice. A silent voice.
I know.
And I suppose we will jump right into it as Mandy's background gets put back together. It's a story of a young, well, it's a story of a couple of young kids. Shoya, and I just rewatched it, so I really should remember the names. Shoya and Sho, because what do they call them? Okay, anyways, so 2 young kids. One of them is deaf, a young girl who is deaf and who is bullied, I think, for most of her life in elementary and middle school. This is when they're in high school, I believe, and the story of her and the bully that she had in middle school and elementary school, who was in turn bullied a lot in his middle and elementary school. Interesting story. Noah, give me your thoughts on A Silent Voice.
I liked it. It made me happy.
It made me happy. Yes, this is the Japanese sign language apparently for happy. That was delightful. A lot of good stuff in that movie. Mandy, what are your thoughts?
I love the animation style. I thought it was very clear, and it had a little bit of the old elements of anime that I really enjoyed, with still adding the newer kind of fluid movement, as well as just being so delightful with how strong the beginning, middle, and end were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought, the great animation style, very colorful, very bright. Really, really lovely to watch. Some really great music in it too. Now, I don't know how much the music changed between the regular version and the American dub, the English dub, because there were definitely some American songs in it early on. You remember that?
I was wondering that. Were there like
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Was that in the was in the sub?
It was in the sub. Yes.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
That was a good choice of song. I don't remember what the song was, but there was some good very like American youth kind of music in there.
It was either a 1960s or 1970s song actually.
Yeah. But yeah, great. I enjoyed a lot of interesting stuff. I love the interesting characters. I like that kind of the main character that we're following around was the bully of this deaf girl, and he's kind of just feeling repentant for the whole thing and kind of hates himself. Good character. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really liked the character motivations in this. We were talking about motivations last week.
Yeah.
I feel like the character motivations in A Silent Voice were like spot on, and it was nice to see characters and be like, I get that character. I understand you.
No, absolutely. You know, it was interesting to see. Actually, all the characters in the movie have a relatively defined. Gesundheit. Not necessarily like a defined motivation, but all the characters have a very defined like persona. They have a very defined like who they are, which is interesting, because all the characters that like obviously, was it Shoya? That is the main character.
Shoya
Yeah.
and Shoko.
And Shoya and Shoko. So Shoya is the bully guy, and Shoko is the girl that's deaf. So Shoko, he has obviously very, very defined motivation, which obviously just drives the story, drives everything he does. And Shoko, I suppose she's a little bit more passive in that. She likes Shoya, or she likes Shoya or Shoko. That's gonna get confusing as hell for me.
Just say show for both of them.
Just say show for both of them. That won't get confusing at all. But she's maybe a little bit more passive, but she's definitely driven because she does like him. But his motivation definitely drives him all the way through the story. And then all the other characters that are in the story. It's interesting. Something I was noticing in this was that all the characters are they kind of have their own aspect of the past, how they handle the past. So the black-haired chick does.
I don't know her name, but it starts with a U.
It starts with a U, yeah.
So Noka?
I could not tell you if that was correct.
It's Yomi or something.
But, so she
Yono?
can't move on. She's stuck in the past. She
Yeah.
hasn't grown. She hasn't, changed her mind. She's right where she was. She's in the same place she was back when the story started.
Yeah, she's it's funny
mobility.
because she's very much a character who wants to just return to the past, to the way things were before.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is entirely
because
Her
there's no
name
problem
is
with
Noka.
it, right?
Noka.
Noka Yono.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the opposite of the protagonist who regrets everything and wants it all to.
Yeah, no, exactly. She doesn't care. She thinks, oh, it's fine. She has no regret for it. She hasn't learned anything. She hasn't moved at all. And that's makes her an interesting influence on the main character, because obviously his big battle. Both of them, Show and Show, their big battle is with themselves. And that's the hardest. That is the hardest enemy to defeat, right? So she doesn't care. She thinks it was fine how it was. The blonde-haired girl with the long ponytails, she understands how horrible it is, but she denies any involvement in it. She refuses to acknowledge her own part of it, and she wants to just kind of forget about it and move on and not accept any responsibility. Go ahead.
I think that this is something that is really interesting that happens in the movie. We see the past in the form of a montage. We see this early on. We don't have a lot of time to analyze and reevaluate what's actually happening in the past.
Right.
So when we get to the part in the movie where all the characters are talking about the past and recalling what happened differently, like Kawaii is the blonde-haired one. She's like I didn't do anything, and all the characters are talking about what had happened in the past. We don't actually, as the audience, remember exactly what happened. We're like, wait, did she do anything?
Did she do anything? Was she mean?
I can't remember. Yeah. I think it's intentional because it's in a montage form and it's so quick that we can't remember which character.
We got through there. I don't remember how much it was. It was
feels
like 8
like
months
a distant
or something.
child. Yeah, it feels like a distant childhood memory, and we're like, did that happen that way?
Yeah.
Did it not?
Absolutely. No, yeah, that was very, very well done on their part, because I think that does feel very much like that. Like it's a distant memory that you go, no, I mean, because she does. She several times is confronted about it and like, you did that too. And she's like, no, I didn't. And yeah, the audience is like, I feel like she did, but I can't remember any specific moments of that. The only person I remember bullying her directly was Shoyo or Shoko.
Shoya. And in Nauka,
I should stop.
Nauka also aided Shoka. Or you've done it to me, Jake. You've done it to me.
I know. horrible. But
Nakatsuki.
yeah. So that's something I found really interesting about the movie. Is that all the characters, or a lot of the characters, have an interesting supporting, emotion from the past. You know, how they feel about the past, and of course they kind of act on that. Like obviously, the bully black haired bully girl, she is she bullies her still. She's still trying to be mean, because she doesn't think it's wrong, and she's stuck in that way.
She wants the relationship with Shoya that she had before, and that's the only way she understands to like interact with him and be like, let's bully people together, right?
Right, yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know how to talk to you. You're my friend. I want you to be my friend. What if we pick on this person?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. And so it was interesting. It was interesting to see how the main character interacts with all those different people, all those different aspects of, I guess you could call them different aspects of the past. Mandy, do you have any thoughts about that?
I agree. She was, it was interesting trying to see her come around and change. Because it was almost like, look, we have this. This is from our past. We have this together. Right. And he says no. And she's like, well, fine. But I don't know what else we have together. And so, like, even the part where she says, I hate you, is pretty brutal because it's like, I can't remember her name, Nagisima or Nashi, I can't remember. But
Nishimiya?
Yes. Even
Yuzuru. Yuzuru.
She feels like she's a burden to most people. She feels like she doesn't belong and feels like no one wants her. And why even be on this earth? And he did that in the very beginning. So it was just kind of like a tie-in to all of that, which really pulls on your heartstrings in the sense of this underlying need for loving yourself.
Yeah, no, that's a very, I think that's a relatively prevalent theme in the whole movie is just self-hatred. Self-hatred and just hating who you are versus loving who you are versus just being okay with who you are. I think a lot of the characters deal with that in varying degrees.
I would like to draw attention to Tomohiro Nagatsuka. He is the short round one with rounded clumps of hair on his head.
Right.
That character
he's great.
From the very beginning, I'm like, I know that person. That person.
Yeah, right. That guy's great. He's great. Yeah, no, seriously, yeah, he's great. He's a great character. Also, interesting. You know, I guess you could kind of say dealing with some issues with because he's very.
Yeah, he's like he's the fat kid that got bullied.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
That's his character. Yeah. I mean, he's more complicated than that, obviously. But that's like our
depth, but surface level.
Surface level.
He's that,
and so he lacks the confidence. He doesn't want anybody else to be Shoka's friend, or Shoya's friend because he's afraid probably Shoya's going to not be his friend anymore. Which, interestingly enough, I think is Shoya has a hard time. Just being in the whole movie they have this kind of device where there's an X over everybody's face. It's an interesting kind of thing that it represents. It's kind of this not looking at people, I think kind of as the movie goes along, when we're looking at the perspective of Shoya, he'll have X's over everybody's face, and I think that's probably or the way I interpret it is, he's not seeing these people, he's not wanting to acknowledge these people, or not necessarily like physically look at them, but like acknowledge them because he doesn't want to be hurt by them. So it's kind of personified in him always looking down or not looking at people. Oftentimes when you're in his perspective, the camera's going to be down.
I believe it is he describes it in the movie as he has trouble with eye contact is
Yeah.
his thing.
Yeah. But
And
yeah, go ahead.
I also like the direction where the camera and the shots, a lot of them are angled downwards
Yeah.
intentionally, like cutting out characters' faces. We see their bodies and their legs,
Hmm.
and a very heavy focus on that rather than looking at characters' faces or
Yeah.
their eyes.
Absolutely, and that one is specifically from Shoya's perspective, or that's what my impression was when I from rewatching it was you get that when you're in Shoya's perspective, yeah, camera shot down, he's not looking at their eyes, he's averting his eyes because he doesn't want to look people in the eyes. I shouldn't drink sparkling water when we do this because I want to burp every like 5 seconds.
Okay, Jake, let the burps flow.
Blah, no. I'm gonna try to be polite online. But no, yeah, interesting movie. If I were trying to break it down, in a lot of ways, I think, it was interesting because it is very slice of life, in the sense that this is just people living their lives and trying to be better with themselves. Nothing particularly crazy is happening. There are no aliens. Nothing. There is some dramatic stuff in there. Some of the characters, obviously, one of the themes of the movie is suicide, and so a couple of the characters deal with that throughout the story.
That was really well handled. I like the way they handled that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, and they made it very tense, especially at the end. When Shoka is gonna jump off the balcony, that was a very well done scene because of the way the curtain was flying in front of the. Oh, did I just? Oh, I think I might have just spoiled it for Kimberly. Kimberly was still watching it. Sorry, Kimberly. We'll pretend that didn't happen.
I like the way the characters' motivations drive other characters.
Yeah.
So we have like Shoya's motivation,
Mm-hmm.
and then his mother's motivation acts on him, changing the direction he's moving in, and then his motivation drives him to Shoko,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ends up being that Tamahiro's motivation drives Shoya forward, and all the characters' motivations push each other forward through the
Mm-hmm.
story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say one thing that I think happened that was interesting for Shoya, is so as his the thing he wants is to make Shoya happy, or Shoka happy. And so he keeps like wanting to be her friend and wanting to do stuff with her. And there's a point where I feel like he kind of hits a brick wall in that he's her friend and he's trying to do stuff with her, and he doesn't really know where to go from there. And so it's kind of this. It's very short, like maybe 10 minutes of the movie. But and it's kind of personified in this like short summer that they have, or the short like beginning of summer that they have, where they're just like going to them. They go to the mall and they go to the art museum and they go to this thing, and it's very like it seems like he's being super positive and he's.
I will say that was that moment caught me off guard a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For a moment, I thought it was him like faking it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I like it was the second watch through that I'm like, okay, I think I get the scene. It felt a bit abrupt because he was so like happy.
Right. Yeah. And
I was like,
I don't understand. Yeah. No, for sure. And I
nobody can be that happy.
Nobody's that happy. No, I think that was an interesting thing, just because he gets to that point and he just doesn't know how to do what he wants to do, or he almost doesn't even know what he wants to do, because he wants to he knows he wants to make Shoka happy, but he doesn't know how, so he's just being happy and doing this, and then finally they end up doing his mother's birthday, which kind of moves them forward in that, but really, really interesting. Mandy, do you have any thoughts on that character, on the character's relationship and what they're going?
So I watched the AMVs and it was really interesting because the way that they did it at Nandesicon and they put it together was really like, before I watched the movie, it seemed more dark, and I was really happy that it wasn't so dark. I mean, it was dark.
Yeah.
It was dark in a good way. Like I got scared for what's her name, Nishimiya.
So Nishimiya is the family name. So it's Shoko Nishimiya, Yuzuru Nishimiya, and then the mother's something Nishimiya.
Okay.
So are you talking about Yuzuru or Shoko or the mother?
Yuzuru.
Yuzuru.
Yes. No, not the younger sister. Sorry, Shoko.
Shoko.
Yes, Shoko.
I like.
Well, okay. In the subs, admittedly, they use their last name.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they probably did in the dubs as well. But that's like a distance and closeness thing. Like, I'm comfortable enough with you to not call you Mr. Springborn, but to call you like hey Noah. So
exactly.
that's like that's a means of conveying the relationship between characters.
It scared me where they were going with it. That's all I have to say.
Can I just say, I really liked the bit of character development for Yuzuru with the grandmother.
Oh yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah.
No, and when they ripped out the mom's earring, like the mom, who's the Nishima, was that you? No, Tamahiro? No, that wasn't her. Who's the mom of the Nishimiya? It was really, oh my gosh, like, that was brutal. Because the mom was, like, taking it, and she just walks up, and her ear's freaking bleeding, and it cuts to a new scene. Like, that's brutal!
I loved that, because you're talking about, when they were kids still, right? Yeah, that was great, because that was a detail side that was just like, we see it, and then it changes scenes. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
What happened?
It was awesome because it was like this, like, we saw a bunch of details. We didn't get them directly explained to us. They were shown to us, like, from the perspective of the main character of Shoya. He's like seeing these little details, and then like we have time to think about it, be like, wait, what happened there? And try to figure it out like the main character. It was really good.
Yeah, no, that was that was a very interesting. That was very interesting interaction. I enjoyed the interactions between the two mothers in the film, just because they were really important characters and everything going on. And I mean, they obviously have much more mature reactions than the kids do the whole time. If I would say very Japanese reactions. To what happens, but
I will say, I really like the art style, but there's a single moment during which the proportions and ratios in the drawing are off by a lot. They feel uncomfortable.
Where?
And it is Yuzuru on the playground in the little thing. We have a shot that cuts to Yuzuru's face, and her eyeball is the size of the moon. And it's just for that shot. And then the rest of the time, the ratios are what they normally are. And like,
I know exactly the shot you're talking about.
Was that on purpose, though? Was that, like, something they were trying to get across visually?
No, I don't think it was. I just think it
I
happened
would say
to
it's too inconsistent with the style. Like, if this were Mob Psycho 100, we could do the most dramatic overreaction shot. They could do, like, a live action shot, and I would be like,
like, yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Yeah.
Sure, you know, they're expressing something. But it feels too inconsistent with the style.
There was a beat, there was a flow, there was a rhythm to what they were doing. But I also feel like there was kind of something that they were trying, and and I don't feel like it was necessarily unfluid, but I get that it was kind of like a break. Like it jousted the whole thing a little. So I do understand that. But I feel like it was something that they tried because they wanted to bring someone in.
It may have been, yeah, it may very well have been something intentional that they planned out and they hoped that it would work, but it definitely felt just a little too jarring. And the thing is, I'm not good at consciously recognizing when proportions are wrong and when they like muck up some of the stylistic things. But like that was just a situation where it was far enough that I was like, wait, this looks weird. Something's weird about this.
It's not flowing right. Yeah.
No, so
I kind of liked the way that he was in the playground though. Like even like how would you get that visual in the tubes if you made it a flat image? So kind of feeling that out, I feel like was important. I think that was more of a discovery for them.
Right. Interesting. I can't quite remember the visuals from those moments early on in the film. Something. Oh, go ahead now.
No, go ahead. My thing can wait.
So something I was going to say that is interesting. So something that this particular movie did with respect to character motivation, character drive, moving scenes forward, is that there was not at any one point, and this is, I think, is probably relatively common in slice of life. This is common in sitcoms. It's common in things that a lot of things that are serialized, like low tension things. But there is some character has some motivation, not necessarily, all the characters, but every scene. The main character has a motivation that's obvious and that is driving that character into doing something for the scene. And then every individual, so there's not necessarily anybody acting against them. What I'm trying to say is the individual scene objectives are there, and so there's an objective to every single scene. So every scene somebody is trying to do a specific thing, whether that's furthering the overall plot of the story, or whether it's him trying to walk home the girl that's posted pictures of him on the internet. He's trying to be nice to that character. So every scene has its own specific objective, and so that means every single scene is interesting, but it can make it feel a little bit slower, just because it's not as if like there is the pressing tournament arc and who's next in the big lineup and the battle is coming up for this person. We're kind of meandering, or it feels kind of slow, but there's a point for the scene to happen, and everybody is acting in accordance to what they want, but the scene isn't really leading to the next big thing. It's just kind of the characters are following their own thing, and of course there's an objective for the scene, obviously. So like when the scene when he's walking home, was it Yukura? Or who's the sister, the younger sister? So he's
what
was it? Yuzuru. So he's walking her home, and he's walking her home because he wants to be nice. And the objective in that scene is to get out, some of what he is trying to do. It's to obviously tell him that that's actually, because he at the time thinks that because this is an anime thing. He thinks she's a boy.
Like, no. This is a Japanese thing.
Yeah.
This is we see this in like, this happens in Mulan. This is like, I think this has to be like a classic Japanese like story thing, where like the character is like, I am a lady, but no one will know I am a lady because even though I'm clearly drawn to look like a lady. everyone will be
everyone
like,
will
oh
be,
yeah,
yeah, it's a
that's
guy.
that guy.
Yeah.
The guy.
So that scene is to first of all inform that character, the main character that's his her younger sister, to kind of further that relationship. There's a bunch of information you learn in that scene. It's not necessarily a big thriller pulse-pounding scene where you just need to know what happens next. There's a lot of information in it, and it's it flows just fine, but it's not necessarily like Midoriya fighting somebody to prove that he's a hero or something like that. That doesn't immediately achieve his objective. It achieves it in a very, very kind of low-key way.
I like the arc for the protagonist. We have something cool that happens at the beginning, that is, the protagonist sells all of his stuff. He sells all of it, like he sells all of his clothing, and he sells his bed.
Right.
He sells his futon, and multiple times throughout the story, we get shots of him sleeping on the floor without a bed because of that. And it's kind of this interesting thing where we get the feeling of like he's getting a fresh start, like he's literally sold everything he owned at the very beginning.
Yeah, no, and I think it's kind of interesting because that's like his idea at the beginning of the story is that he's going to kill himself. He's going to jump off a bridge. He's going to sell everything he owns. He's going to pay off his debt, cancel his phone, and he's gonna jump off a bridge. But that kind of becomes not the end, but kind of the beginning for him, which is great. It was an interesting way to start, and conversely, an interesting way for the movie to wrap up with Shoka's attempted suicide.
And I think we've all kind of had that feeling. I mean, going through youth and dealing with bullies, and I mean, I moved 11 times in 12 years, and I dealt with different bullies at different periods of my life. And the funny thing is, they all ended up being really good friends.
That's
and
funny.
So it's interesting to me because I see that happening with my own kids.
Oh my god, it's a cat. Noah, don't do that. You'll break the internet.
Yeah, your own kids?
No, I got a princess here. I don't know where she is, but I could get her.
I don't have a cat. You don't try. Don't do it. I'll be the only one.
She's my princess. She's my princess.
Hey, Daisy.
Anyway, I feel like we've all gone through that where we felt that distant and I feel like the X's also kind of represent the disconnect. Because
yeah, no,
I feel
exactly.
like you want to disconnect. It's like you choose to disconnect because they're choosing not to engage you either. And so it's very easy to put these X's over people's faces and not like have eye contact, not feel that way, because you can just not be. And then if you're not important to them, then why should you be important to anyone? And then you kind of go in this downward spiral until you feel like, why am I here? I'm just a problem for people.
Right, yeah. No,
you really have to pull yourself out in the sense of like, it's more than that. You have more to give than that.
Yeah,
and
that's
hard. That's a hard subject.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing I loved the X's as a story device for that reason, because it's kind of like closing off eye contact, but it's more than that. It's kind of closing off himself to the human relationships with those people, to human interactions with those people, and so it's kind of, when it initially comes up, it kind of feels like it's about eye contact. Because of the way those scenes work. Also, may I say that relatively well directed in that way. Yes. Like Noah was saying, with cameras panning down, the way that it is shot certainly reinforces a lot of things about the scenes. I think if you watch it with an eye towards what the camera's pointing at in any given scene, it does a pretty good job of reinforcing what's going on in the scene. With what the camera's doing. And so the X's initially really feel like they're like an eye contact thing, but then I think pretty a little bit later, throughout the course of the story, you realize.
Well, I wouldn't say they feel like an eye contact thing. I think it's specifically that the protagonist says that it's eye contact that's his
That's
issue.
fair. That's fair. And that also, I think, that's that. So the way that I conceived of it initially seeing it was that it was about eye contact, and maybe that's also because the protagonist is saying at the time that starts happening that he has trouble keeping eye contact, and that's all part of that, creating that. And I think I think they create that idea that the X's are about eye contact, and later on you realize it's really more just about human connections. Not like way later on, but pretty early on you figure that out.
I think that's really important in that when you start disconnecting, and I've gone through this, as I'm sure many people have, where you don't want to believe that you're important. You don't want to have any self-worth. And we see that through not only the main character, but with not Shoya, the other Shoru, is that her name? Shoka. We see that through Shoka because she feels the same way. She's like, I've done everything to try and make people not mad at me. I've said I'm sorry. I've said I've tried to be the best person I can be, and I still get treated this way.
God, I love Shoka's art. I love that with Shoka because she is like she can't talk, so she has so much trouble communicating. So when that moment comes that she's really expressing herself and how she actually feels, it is that much more impactful because it's so hard to get like.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. Yeah, something I had a little bit of trouble finding the second time around, and I would suggest it if you haven't watched or if you're planning on watching, is if you don't watch it subbed, watch it dubbed, but make sure the dub you're watching has subtitles for all the text. Because I started watching it when because I watched it twice, and I was rewatching it, and there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of text messaging, there's a lot of words that are in Japanese, and they're important. If you watch it, you need to watch it so that you can read the text.
And with the sub, it gives you that.
Yeah, but is that with the
age-old problem of anime? You're like, I want to watch dub,
but what does that sign say? I don't know.
It has subs for the signs.
Yeah.
Well,
like
that document clearly has important information on it. I don't know what it is though.
Mandy, we all know you watch subbed.
We all know you watch subbed.
Don't you try.
Better than us.
My favorite. No, it's not better.
You don't know my pain.
So I've been watching subbed for a very long time. I think the thing about subbed is that when you start to notice similarities in words, you can start getting context without reading all the words. And so when you read something, you're like, that wasn't translated the same as what I know it says.
Right.
And so you get more once you realize what's happening. But I get where you're coming from. If you just read the subs, it's not necessarily correct every time.
Well, okay, so this is a huge subs versus dubs is a huge topic. Noah, you were going to say something? Are
you going to divert before this train wreck begins, Jake?
I think we probably should.
I was going to tangent, but if we want to like pull the lever and switch tracks, we can do that too.
God, I feel like we should. I feel like there will be no
end.
Let's divert. We at some point we should have a discussion on subs versus dubs, because I feel like it would be an interesting subject of discussion. But I feel like it would take a full hour, and we would probably scratch the surface. Perhaps if we just like made it really dense. Somebody in chat said, is suicide a big issue in Japan? I don't know.
So, I'm pretty sure suicide rates are higher in Japan because there's a lot of like, it's stressful. Japan's a stressful place to be because of like expectations and things and the social stuff. Like the same reason that there's a stereotype that like Japanese and Korean people are better at math, and that the same reason that that's a stereotype, like, is the same reason that suicide rates are higher. Is there's a lot more like you must do the best you can do and take my katana and inherit my legacy.
That's fair.
I don't understand Japan.
Honestly, though, like their rates have actually dropped.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
The rates in Japan have actually been dropping for the 8th straight year in Japan. So
awesome.
Their suicide rates have actually gone down by a lot, which is great. I think that's wonderful.
No, I agree. That's fabulous.
And I feel like there's a lot more outreach to everyone.
For sure.
I mean, even here in America, I feel like there's more, like, even just around us, like, people are more aware of people's feelings and what's going on. And
I think
like
we can
in the beginning,
according to Wikipedia, suicide rates in Japan look to be like 40% greater than in the US.
And yet they dropped.
They're at the bottom. They used to be like 200. They used to be like 250% of what the U.S. was, but now they're down to only 140% or so.
Yeah, dang, they are better at math than us, though.
But I like how in the very beginning, A Silent Voice, how his contemplation and the weird things that he does, like the little nuances, like leaving money and cleaning up after himself, and just those little things that his mom is like, I know what you were gonna do.
I know you're not this thoughtful. Yeah, his mom, him getting mommed on by that character is just like,
that was
great.
It's great.
I love it.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like his mom. She's a good character. She's solid. She's also got the like she's a hairstylist and she's like dyed her hair blonde. I still don't fully comprehend the significance of blonde hair in anime, but I think
she has black in her hair though.
Yeah,
she's
and like
it's because she bleached her hair and it's grown out.
Oh, fine. Ruined my disillusionment.
She has two color hairs. She is a multi-haired color person.
Well, I thought she really was.
Yeah, she's an interesting character because she's dyed her hair blonde, but the black's growing out, and she's a hairstylist, which is already like a slightly non-standard profession.
Yeah.
And also, she's a single mother who's adopted a bunch of kids from different ethnicities, and like they look completely different. And she's an interesting character.
You know what's really funny though, is way back in elementary school, one of my friends, his mother was a hairstylist who had the exact same like hair thing going on. She had kind of a very similar persona actually. She had blonde hair with the dark hair that was grown out in the roots. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, it's like Brian's mom. I remember that. It's good. I'm glad that wasn't my situation, though. I was much happier than that person.
I think
he was not a happy person.
I think that it is high time we discuss the most important part of the show.
I just don't know of any candidates, though, Noah. Give me your candidate.
I think that this one is a given.
Oh, really?
Tomohiro Nagatsuki.
Tomohiro and Nagatsuki.
I like Nagatsuki.
He's got the round hair.
I would say.
And he backs him up wholeheartedly.
So that's Nagatsuki?
Yes.
All right.
He's got the
that's fair.
Black hair, yeah.
Nagatsuki, best girl.
That's my best girl.
Who's your other candidate for waifu, Noah?
That was mine.
Oh no, waifu! I didn't even consider waifu.
A lot of good stuff in there.
Oh, best girl waifu. Oh shoot.
Okay. Oh, I'm so unprepared for this.
There weren't
Need
very
to put you on the
many.
spot.
Yeah.
It's hard because I have to be like, you're asking me just on the spot. I didn't think
Oh, yeah.
beforehand.
Well,
Who would you
also-
like to spend the rest of your life with, Noah?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. They're like,
It also doesn't help that like 80% of the characters are like 14 or 15. So, that's
Yeah. How about Pedro?
Pedro.
I don't know who Pedro was, but Maria's father.
I think what is his mom? What's her name?
I can't find it on here.
She's very supportive.
Yeah.
How many kids does she have though? I'm gonna.
she has it. She
At
has
least
him,
2.
the little girl, and then the one who came
Well, no,
back.
So
3.
the
Because he has
the little
an
girl.
older sister.
The little girl. So he has an older sister.
His
There's
older
also
sister's married to
the little-
Pedro.
The little
You
girl
remember
is his
The
sister.
one who went off to the military
I don't remember that.
and came back.
So
He's like
yes.
big and muscular, and he's in the opening.
I don't remember
He's a
that.
little kid in the opening. He's huge. He stands out so much.
I guess I didn't
He's at
rewatch the movie very
end.
well.
He's at the very end.
He's
So
at the
he-
very end.
He's Maria's father.
He comes back from the military, and he's enormous. And
Wow,
yeah, so
Yeah.
at least 4.
that's fair. That's fair. I think probably him. He'd be a great waifu. Military. Great. Probably very supportive.
I don't know, Jake. He was absent for like 80% of the movie. What do you think
Hey.
your marriage is gonna be like?
It's true. Be pretty empty. Yeah.
Do you want to raise little whatever his daughter
little
is on
Susie
your
or
own,
whatever
Jake?
by yourself.
Shoya's
Exactly.
older sister is literally named Shoya's older. By the way.
Oh, is that literally what she's credited as?
Yeah.
Solid. That's
She
why.
never shows up?
That's why I can't remember her name.
Maria has a name. She was just there constantly as a main point in the story.
Mm-hmm. So I do. We are still pretty early. We have about 15 minutes left in the show. But I wanted to real quick have a discussion about what we were gonna watch next week. Or
I have
for
something to say
next week.
before that.
Okay, go ahead, Mandy. What did you want to say?
Just because this story touches so much on suicide,
Mhm.
and I feel like it's helped me. I've had to call the suicide prevention hotline before. I think anyone who's watching or anyone who feels like they need it should have the number. It's 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255, and they were wonderful talking to me. They helped me through a lot, and they have a lot of resources. They're really great people.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking about it, just give them a call.
Yeah.
Worth it. Your life is worth it. So
Mhm. Absolutely.
that's
It's
all I
always
wanted
worth
to interrupt you for.
No, absolutely. That's a very good interruption. And that is the number for the U.S. I don't know if it's different in different parts of the world. I would assume it is. But yeah, no, absolutely. Give them a call if you need. That's important. There's always something. But yes, moving on. Noah, did you have one thing to say?
So, I would like to toss out a couple of titles.
Okay.
Or
You guys never listen to me.
Oh my God! What did we miss?
Nothing. Go ahead, Noah. I might agree with him. I want to hear what he has to say.
I would like to toss out a couple of titles
Okay.
for what anime we're watching next.
Okay.
That's what we're on. We're on that, right? This is where we are.
Yes.
Okay. So, there is, as Mandy recommended, because I listened to her,
Oh, thank you.
Your Name, which is a movie.
Okay.
And there's also A Place Farther Than the Universe, which
Like
is
that
a
one?
series. And then there is also, as Mandy recommended,
Thank you.
what's that other one? What is it called? It's the music one. There's music.
Oh, AKB 0048 is like my favorite. Probably not that one.
Probably not that one. What one is that? Give me that again. What is this?
AKB0048. AKB0048.
I'm gonna look up what this is.
It's so inspiring and heartfelt and joyful and musical and
I was thinking
how long is it?
July and April.
2 seasons.
2 seasons. So Mandy,
Your Lie in April is a good one too. I haven't seen that one.
I think
I'm
we should watch
assuming.
something. I think we should watch one that Mandy recommends this time because I feel like the last couple those have been our recommendations. And then last week I just set a silent voice because I didn't have very much time this week to watch a whole season of something.
That's fair. I didn't either, so I was appreciative.
It was nice. It was nice. Yes, literally was in the like 75% through rewatching it because it was the one I had already seen. Rewatching it before starting the podcast. Had to stop watching it to start the podcast. So those two, I'd be down to watch a musical something. I think we should have more musical stuff. I love musicals.
It's not a musical. It's
Okay.
about music.
Ah, okay.
My husband said it's sad and wonderful and sad and wonderful.
I think we should watch Your Lie in April. I'm down. This was on the list of things that I was like.
That's fair. That's fair.
Your Lie in April.
It's great. So imagine you know in like Dragon Ball Z when the character's powering up and he's like getting super strong and then he does something amazing and doesn't die and then the other character's like, oh, look how powerful he is.
Yeah, I remember
Now
that.
we get that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's to a character playing a violin and the other characters are like, oh,
that sounds kind of delightful actually.
I could ruin it.
What? Why? Why would you even say that? Silence your tongue.
Sad things.
There is nothing sad. It is the happiest anime of happy animes.
Have you seen it, Noah?
I'll put the
I have
wall
seen
scroll
it.
behind me tomorrow or next week.
Okay, so I guess next week we'll be watching Your Lie in April. Sounds good. I'm excited about it.
I have to steal the wall scroll from my roommate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have 3 days off this week, so I can watch,
Yay!
which just means more anime.
More anime is always good.
Mm-hmm. But so any closing thoughts then on A Silent Voice? So it being a film, obviously there is less character development. We have less going on. There is it's a shorter, more confined, more concise story because it's 2 hours of movie. And that's it.
If the first 5 episodes of an anime developed characters as much as Your Silent Voice did over the course of the movie, I would be like, this is going to be a great anime. I am excited. I'm stoked for this.
This is something that's interesting because I think they definitely could take some notes. A lot of anime, a lot of series could take notes from films like this because they have to get so much character development in such a short amount of time. And so many anime I've seen just go episodes and episodes and episodes and episodes with zero development or very little development, and it drags, and you're just, oh, why is this character still like this? I think that'd be a great thing for studios to do, is to have their artists write or have their writers make a movie, write a movie, get everything in a 2-hour block, and then work on doing the episodes.
Agreed.
And I love, now to be clear though, I do love the episodic format of TV shows more, just because you can get so much more in. There's more time to get more in, but you do have shows that just can, like, they'll do things that are just long-winded. Like, as much as Dragon Ball Z was a delightful show when I watched it, it took Goku like 90 episodes to charge the friggin' Spirit Bomb, and that just drags. Like, very little character development for Goku while he's charging the Spirit Bomb. Just saying. Not that we need it. But
I'm gonna say, like, Dragon Ball Z drags a little. Like, it drags pretty hard. Like, it's good and all, but even One Piece, which is like 8,000 episodes.
Right.
Don't correct me. It's like 8,000 episodes.
No, that's about right.
Doesn't drag twice so much.
Yeah. And so and it's hard. I think it's definitely hard, especially when you have a whole bunch of episodes to fill all those episodes with stuff, because you need to have a show, and you have so many episodes per season that you do, and it's kind of hard to confine to fit your story into this nice little 12 or 24 episode box that you have. So you either have to stretch it out or you have to condense it. And usually 24 episodes, that's a lot, and usually it's stretched out a bit. Some shows do it, and they do it really well. This is one of the reasons I think episodic series, one of my favorite types of media in like filmmaking. Awesome, because you have so many episodes to tell a story. I think probably my favorite, though, is a mini-series. Something like Cowboy Bebop. Something that this is how many episodes it has. It's got 16 episodes. It's got 18 episodes. It's got 8 episodes. It has some number of episodes, and the story fills those episodes. That's what they needed. That's how much they used to tell the story. What kind of constraints they have on those, I'm not 100% aware of what the studios. I'm sure they have some kind of constraints, but I those are great, because if those they have to put in as much as they can to every single episode. So every episode is usually they're always trying to accomplish some kind of character development, if it's well written, some kind of development, some type of furtherance of the story, some type of furtherance of the characters' evolution of their motivation. They do a great job in that format, because I think of the nature of it. A lot of shows do it really well. Like I thought Kill la Kill, great show. What a great show.
Yes.
Filled with, way over the top, super recommended. I've not seen Samurai Champloo. That's one of those that's always been on my list. I just haven't seen it. Nothing. Oh, false alarm. False alarm. Go home, everybody.
No, wait.
No, stay here.
I gotta look at it. Tom, go ahead.
Well, but so I think more shows could do a better job of utilizing the time that they have in a more effective way. That's usually one of my critiques whenever I watch a show, whenever I watch an anime, whenever I watch anything. A lot of the time, if there's something wrong with it, one of the more common things is just having filler scenes, having things that are not really there for a purpose, or having things that don't really further anything in any way, and they just kind of feel dragging.
I tend to avoid anime movies a lot of the time, because I do like the series format, but it is nice to go back to a movie where they are so time constrained that the creators have to figure out what they want out of each scene more, and so the scenes are more carefully planned out, and there's more happening in them, and we don't get the unnecessary filler that happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, probably the prime example that everybody would probably point out of excellent filmmaking in Japanese animation would probably be Miyazaki films. Mandy's like, yeah, he's all right. But
no, they're so good. There's some that are amazing.
I agree.
The effects are, they're just so good.
No, Mandy,
the stories sometimes are.
I agree 100% with. I agree with 100% with the statement that some of them are really good. Some of them are less good. Some of them are really good.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and maybe someday we'll do an episode on Miyazaki films, or on some Miyazaki films.
I have to say something, because the nerd in me has to come out a little bit.
Oh, God. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Fire.
So at
Charge.
MBK, somebody made me really happy. It was a voiceover actor. Actually, too, because I love Chris Patton. But I love the Tachikomas in Ghost in a Shell. And Sandy Fox literally gave me a signed signature from her, and I was really excited. And so I just nerded out a little bit.
I just needed to share. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I needed to, because I was like, it was very special.
That's awesome. And on that delightful happy note, We're going to say thank you for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been an anime story podcast. We'll be coming back at the same time next Saturday. That's Saturday the 15th of September at 5 o'clock. Mountain Standard Time. We'll be discussing the show. Ooh, what was it called again?
Your Lie in April.
Your Lie in April. Your Lie in April. Next Saturday, the 15th of September. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye.